Hello and welcome everyone to a Top Producer webinar. I'm your host Spencer with our customer success team here at Top Producer, and today this is going to be getting started with Top Producer X CRM. So whether you're a brand new Top Producer customer altogether, or maybe you've been with us for years but are just getting started with Top Producer X CRM, the latest version, good to have you here. And so we can walk through setting up some of the basics together in terms of configuring your CRM, making sure it's good to go before you really dive in and put it to use. And so, yeah, just to reiterate, this is definitely just kind of a general getting started show. We'll walk through the settings and some of the basic features and stuff like that. And then there's plenty of more resources and of course, live support and things like that to learn more afterwards. If you are coming from Top Producer 8i Classic and would like to learn more about that transition from 8i to the new Top Producer X, please note we do actually have a separate webinar specifically for that purpose. We just aired it I believe it was yesterday with my colleague Dan Salcedo. He does an excellent job. And so if anyone's interested, just let us know and we can share that specific link with you in the chat. But that being said, without further ado, like I said, this is Getting Started with TPX, hosted by myself. And I'm also joined by my friend and colleague, Marvin LaRosa, from our research team. And so Marvin is always in the live chat along here with me. As you can see on the side, or actually, sorry, underneath me here, there's Marvin on the Zoom chat. But that being said, if you're joining in from YouTube today, you can definitely still participate and ask questions and leave us some comments and things like that. So if you're on Zoom, just use that chat feature. If you're on YouTube, please just make sure you log in with a Google account. And that's actually going to be what lets you comment from there. So moving right along, I just want to point out if you do need help after the show or any other time, just remember you can contact our customer care team anytime through the live chat during our business hours. So the live chat is available in the bottom right corner of your Top Producer CRM or any other Top Producer product, or also at our Top Producer support page, which is topproducer.com/campus. And you can actually use that live support on the campus page without even being logged into any Top Producer product if you need to. So if you're on the go, or for whatever reason you can't log into your account at the time, something like that, you can always access that through the campus page anytime during the same business hours, Monday to Friday, 7:30 a.m. till 4 p.m. in Pacific Standard Time. You can also email our help desk at support@topproducer.com just for those less urgent inquiries, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. But that being said, for live support, troubleshooting, coaching, billing inquiries, and more, always recommend that you at least try out the live chat first just to get you a faster response and get what you need as soon as possible. And of course, just easier, during a live conversation as well. All right, so up next, guys, here is the game plan. We'll be going over how to log into Top Producer X for the first time. So if you just signed up and you're not sure where to go next, I'll show you what that email looks like that you should have received, and then what the first few steps of getting logged in and set up would look like. And we'll also cover some sales pipeline basics, as that's extremely important to how the CRM functions. And I just want you guys to get, oops, excuse me, guys. Sorry, I accidentally just lowered my chair. That was silly. But anyway, wrong lever. But anyway, then we'll go over configuring Top Producer X's settings, making sure you have what you need to fully utilize the CRM. So we'll talk about how to configure these settings and kind of why you should configure these settings before really jumping into the CRM. We'll talk about ways to build your database, whether you have a spreadsheet that you're bringing with you, or maybe you just have some contacts in your phone or email service, or maybe kind of a combination of all that. Definitely we'll talk about some tips and tricks for that, best practices and ways to import. We'll then sort of finish off about the Followup Coach, which is a great tool for getting your database on track and keeping it on track. And then finally, just reiterate some help and support resources once again and how to contact us as well. So lots of content in store, guys. Everyone buckle up and let's get ready. And we're going to go through this, and any questions or comments along the way are welcome, but please keep in mind, we do have a certain amount of content that we do need to cover within the time frame here. So guys, for our brand new users, if you'd like to get logged in and you haven't yet, I'm just going to give you a quick little demo just to walk you through here what that whole process would look like. So if you just signed up, please check your email inbox or perhaps your spam folder just in case for an email titled Activate Your New Top Producer Account. In that email, you'll find your login credentials. Just please note those down somewhere secure and safe, and then click on the Get Started button to be brought to the login screen of Top Producer X. So here at the login screen, you can also go to crm.topproducer.com, fill in your login credentials. You can always change your password later. Don't worry with that forgot password link. But for now, let's just walk through signing in. So right off the bat, you will see the subscriber agreement. This is the standard terms and conditions or the end user license agreement for all Top Producer products. Very common in the software world to have an agreement like this. Basically, what you have is a 3-day money back guarantee where you can opt out and get refunded if necessary. You do have a first 30-day evaluation period where you can still opt out if you'd like at that point. And then after that, the subscription is in term for the remainder of the year. So that's just standard across all Top Producer products. If you need to know more about that, I highly recommend reaching out to your sales rep. And then next up is this My Information page, your CRM's internal profile. We can always fill this out later. So for now, let's just make sure our time zone is at least set correctly, and then just save info. And like I said, we can add to that later. So up next, it's going to ask us if we want to import contacts or add contacts. And so as we're covering importing contacts a little bit later in the show, for now, let's walk through adding a contact together to see what that looks like. And we'll cover a couple key points along the way, such as making sure your contacts are organized properly. So here is the add contact screen. And so I always recommend just adding at least one contact to start off with. Not only is the CRM going to stop kind of harassing you to import contacts for a little bit, but it's also just a good way to see what this manual creation process looks like in case you ever need to add a new contact on the fly. And we can also take a moment to stop and talk about the pipeline stages and how to categorize your contacts. So always recommended that you add someone that's relevant to your real estate business. It's just going to be a lot easier to understand, how to categorize them and things like that. So I have to constantly look around for inspiration because I'm kind of running out of names. This is kind of an ongoing issue recently. So if I look around here, what do I see? You know what? I'm just going to pull sort of a random name out of my mind. Let's go James Smith. And not the most original name, but that's okay. So let's say James is a client of ours. We're just pretending, right? You could enter someone that you're working with. You could enter a new lead you're working on, a past client you just closed with, someone that's listed with you, that sort of thing. It would be a good example. You can fill in their phone number here. And if there's a spouse, you could also just add their name in there. And then if you need to add both their phone numbers, you could do add another phone. And we could say, let's say this is the spouse's number. We can title it with Christina, and then just a standard mobile one, because we know James is the primary contact. So we could put James's number in there. Yeah. And then same for emails. We could put James's email here, and then if we had Christina's email, we could put that here as well, and then title that as Christina. Same thing for websites. You can add as many website links as you need to your contact. So if you want to link to their website or some social media links or some other things related to them, you can definitely do that there and title that as well. You can enter their address. This is just their primary address. You can always add more properties and addresses on later on. So it's up to you if you want to fill that out right off the bat or just wait till after. Because later on you can specify primary address, mailing address, investment property, that kind of thing. But here is the part that I wanted to kind of talk about the most, which is contact status and contact types. So these are what let you organize your leads and clients and past clients in your sales pipeline. So very important to how the CRM functions as a whole. So contact status, there's 5 main statuses here: new, engage, future, active, and closed. And these are just your general stages. And then your contact types are what allow you to categorize your contacts much more specifically. So just to break down the statuses first, we have new, which as it says should be contacted right away. This is pretty much just meant for brand new lead inquiries, people you haven't spoken with yet. Maybe you have an online lead that came in from Zillow or Realtor.com, or maybe even just your website. It's going to land in the new status automatically after you set up your lead providers with your Top Producer CRM. And then after that initial follow-up, you want to right away move them to engage, which signifies follow up but not yet qualified. That's that kind of in between phase. Trying to figure out where this person is at, if they are pre-approved for a mortgage, if they are a serious listing prospect, so on and so forth. And you kind of work with them and engage for as long as you need to until you kind of realize they're more of a long-term opportunity, in which case they can go to future. Or if that they're under contract with you, they're listed with you, that sort of thing, you can move them over to active to signify actively working on an opportunity where they stay there for as long as needed until you close with them and you can switch them to close. And so those are just the 5 main statuses. Someone that was listed with you would be an active. Someone that was under contract with you as a buyer and was actively going through that transaction process would also be active, but then they would be tagged in completely different ways using contact types. So if I had a buyer, I probably want to do buyer, and I can just click in here and search from the available contact types that have either been included with Top Producer or that I've created myself. As you can see, if I type something that doesn't exist, it just lets me add it on the fly like that, anytime. But I'm going to say buyer under contract, for example. Maybe another one I've created, buyer, single family. These are all examples of custom contact types, except for the buyer one, that's the default one. And so I can add to this as many times as I want. Maybe I want them to be part of my newsletter list that I plan to create later. I can do that. So then after that, you can also set buyer preferences if you want, which was just allow you to easily kind of see them at a glance when you're looking through your contacts. You can set a lead source if you want to. This will automatically be set if it does come in from an online lead provider. You can add your first starting note for this contact if you like, but you can always add as many notes as you want to later anyway. And for now, let's go ahead and save this contact. Oops, I didn't like that phone number. All right, so we have a brand new contact record here. Just really quick overview. We have the contact's name on the left side. We have all their basic information going down the left side here, including contact types. Down the middle of the record, we have all these different tabs we can navigate through to see the different sections. We like to call this the 360 contact view because everything for the contact is right here, just a click away. But the main page that you land on, at least initially, by default, is the dashboard page, where you can see the contact status. You can see the last touch, which was the last major interaction you did with this record, and when it was. You can see the next upcoming important date, such as a birthday or an anniversary. And you can see the last 3 most recent notes, as well as the lead source and the buyer preferences off to the side here. So you can customize this. You can click and drag and reorganize the different tabs here. Maybe you want to always land on your notes first. You can select notes, and you can customize this and set this as your default tab if you want. Down at the bottom, you have your handy wrap-up button, which allows you to just on the fly document a phone call or text message or something that you've just done for that person. So maybe it wasn't a scheduled activity per se, it was just something that just on the fly kind of happened. Or maybe you're just catching up a little bit. The wrap-up button is a quick tool that you can use just to document that and schedule your next move and save that all right away. You also have the edit contact button at the very bottom here, which would allow you to edit any of the contact details, including contact types. So guys, as you move your contact through the pipeline, just make sure you keep their contact types up to date as well. So if I'm closing with this contact, for example, I'd want to edit them, switch them to closed, remove buyer under contract, remove buyer, and then maybe replace this with past buyer or something like that, right? And then maybe like past client, which is kind of a general one as well. And then save that contact. So just a quick little overview of getting logged in for the first time, creating your first contact, and giving you a little bit of understanding of how the sales pipeline works and contact types. Just remember, we do have tons of resources on our support page where you can learn more. You can also always reach out through that live chat to learn more as well. Without further ado, guys, let's move on to the next step, which is setting up configuring the settings. I almost said setting up the settings. That sounds kind of silly, but configuring the settings and then making sure your top producer is ready for prime time. So guys, let's go to the settings button in the bottom left corner. You can also access the same thing through the top right corner. You click on that little profile picture, and then settings, that'll also get you there. All right, so right off the bat in the settings page, we have the My Information page. So as you can see, this is the same page that we ran into when we first logged in. You can click on Edit My Info at the bottom to then modify your headshot, company logo, business address, phone numbers, emails, websites, social media links, and more. This is primarily used only if you have our Market Snapshot product, which is an add-on to Top Producer X to send custom real estate market reports. If you don't have Market Snapshot, you can still fill this out. It just won't be used as often. But if you do have Market Snapshot, it's going to throw all this information onto your Market Snapshot reports so that it has your branding on there. They have your picture to see, your contact information, and all that kind of stuff. At the very bottom, you can also set the color theme for your market snapshots. And you can also make sure your time zone is set correctly and things like that. One thing to note is under the email section, it'll say agent email. It's important to note this is just simply the email that's associated with your account in general. It's not actually the email that you're going to be sending emails from. It can be, and we'll talk about how to set that up soon. But just note by default, your email is not set up for usage just because it's there. That's just where you would get emails for notifications and resetting your password and things like that. So if you've changed anything here, just make sure to click on Save My Info at the bottom. All right, next on the list, let's just make our way down. Calendar sync, and this is a good one to talk about, right off the bat anyway, because it's a nice little supplementary feature that helps you stay up to date with your appointments when you're on the go. And so Top Producer X does have its own fully fledged task management system that allows you to, mark down your tasks as you go, wrap up your appointments, schedule your next follow-ups. If you're on a team, you can sort by, different team tasks or everyone's tasks. You can take a look at your important dates for all your birthdays and anniversaries coming up for your contacts. You can take a look ahead at your week, all that kind of good stuff. You can check out your calendar view if you prefer. But that being said, when you're on the go, obviously you don't want to miss out on your most time-sensitive appointments or showings and things like that. You may not have a moment to log into your top producer when you're just getting out of the car or something like that, right? So that's exactly where Calendar Sync comes in. You can set this up to synchronize your appointments, so your most time-sensitive things. It's important to know that only your appointments will be synchronized from a top producer to your calendar and vice versa. So in a top producer, it has to be an appointment task. And in your calendar, it has to have a time on it. So using a Google account as a demonstration here, I can actually just set this up and show you what this looks like. I'm going to click on my Google account. And then on here, if you're using a Google account as well, please just make sure all the permission boxes are checked. You can't leave this last one unchecked. It'll just give you an error. So let's go ahead and do that and then hit continue. And this also works with Microsoft Office 365, Outlook, as well as other popular email server or calendar services like Apple iCloud. So step 2, select your calendar. It might give you a message saying, please check back in 5 to 10 minutes. If so, just please do exactly that and then come back. And you should see step 2 waiting for you. So this part is important because you actually have to hit the Start Sync button after selecting your calendar category. So in my Google account, I actually don't have any calendar categories. I haven't set any up. So it's just my default calendar category, which is why it has my email there. If you had more than one, it would actually be a little drop-down box that you could select the category. So please note you can only select one category. You may want to take a few minutes to think about this and decide which calendar category would be the best for your real estate appointments and stuff like that before clicking Start Sync. All right, so then it should say initializing or running, and just give it some time. It should start synchronizing over your appointments, and then any new appointments that you book should synchronize to the opposite side, opposite calendar. So pretty cool stuff. Next up, guys, contact sync and import contacts. We're gonna talk about those a little bit later together. So for now, let's skip over to email integration. So email integration, this is where you go to actually link up your email for for actual email activity, like email content, sending and viewing email history. So similar thing here. You can also use Google, Microsoft, Yahoo, etc. Pretty much most like IMAP email providers. So IMAP is just a more modern email protocol. Exchange servers you can set up as well. You may need some specific server settings in order to get that to work. So if your brokerage, for example, uses an Exchange server, you might need to talk to your manager or like a system administrator or your IT team or guy or girl if you have one or whatever. So, but once again, using something very common as an example like Google, I'm going to go ahead and integrate my Gmail. And I can integrate the exact same Gmail as I used for Calendar Sync. It's just by default, it doesn't know if everyone wants to import the same or integrate the same address or not. You might be using a Google email, but then you might be using an Apple Calendar for all we know, right? So let's go ahead and click on Authorize Email. Or some people might not want to set up every sync, right? So, all right, same thing here. We got to make sure these checkboxes are filled in before hitting continue. If you're using Office 365, you might have one checkbox to fill in as well that says like consent on behalf of your organization. Basically the same thing. So that will say initializing, and then it says running. So that means it's working correctly if it says running. And as you can see, I actually have more than one email set up here, which you can do if you need to. So if you have more than one email account you use for your business, or maybe you have an assistant or something and you want to set up their email as well, you can definitely do that. Yeah. So really cool because now with this, you can send emails right through Top Producer X without leaving the program. It includes email tracking so that you can see who's actually opening your emails. You can send group emails to up to 100 contacts at the same time, with it being customized to every single person. And you can even do scheduled automated emails that TPX will use your email account to fulfill automatically. So really, really amazing stuff. Really powerful integrations here. Much more modern than anything we've had before this. Next up, we have email signatures. And so once you've set up at least one email and email integration, you can then apply a signature to it. So we can just click on one of these lines here. It'll say has signature no by default. So we just click on that. And then here is a signature that I kind of slapped together. And you can work on it here. You can use bullet points, numbers, text sizes, fonts, pictures, links, all that kind of good stuff. If you have an existing signature in your email service, I would recommend trying to copy and paste that over first. If it doesn't work, it might just be because your Google account or something, for example, might have support a lot more formatting and different things than something like our humble little editor at Top Producer X does. So I would try it with just the text first, and if that works, try uploading the images manually using the insert image button. See if that works. If you absolutely can't get it to work, you can try right-clicking and then pasting as plain text, and then you can adjust the formatting within the Top Producer X environment. But just keep in mind, if you need some help with that, you can always reach out to our customer care team. Once again, through the live chat in the bottom right corner, just right over here, anytime during our business hours. You can also click on these little question mark symbols next to the setting or the feature that you're currently looking at. See at the top here, and then this will open an article from our support page that brings you to an article with a video integrated into that is going to give you a step-by-step guide about how to set this up. All right. So yeah, after you set up that signature, it's going to append to any of your outbound emails from Top Producer X. So for example, if you make your signature look identical to how your usual signature looks, then no matter where you're sending emails from, Top Producer X or directly from your email account, they'll look identical essentially. Up next, guys, lead providers. So I know probably chances are many of you are paying for online leads, or at least have some sort of online lead source, maybe even just a website where someone can fill out a form, contact you, that sort of thing. Or like I said, maybe paid leads from some of the big names, Realtor.com, Zillow, Trulia, that kind of thing. Well, you can actually save yourself some time by getting those leads pushed right into your Top Producer X automatically. So how that works is you actually use this special address right here. It looks like an email address. It's not a traditional email address. It's what we call a lead parsing address. So all you do is you copy it, and then you log into your lead providers, and you paste it into the lead notification or lead forwarding settings area of your lead provider. So we also have a video guide for this. It's kind of a generic guide, just to give you an example of what that would look like. So you can see an example of going to the settings page, getting that lead parsing address, and then putting that into a lead provider like this. And then if given the option, we always recommend also leaving it to forward to your regular email so that you get notified as usual, but then also having it go to that myleads.io address so that it not only notifies you, but then it also creates a contact for you in your top producer automatically. Now, if you have our 5-Street program, which is an additional program for lead aggregation, automated responses to leads through text and email in less than 30 seconds, and lead routing for teams, then you'll want to approach this a little bit differently. 5-Street actually has its own version of this called the 5street.me address. So you want to actually forward your lead sources all to 5-Street because that's really the point of 5-Street. And then you can actually put your top producer CRM username into 5-Street to have it then forward those leads to your CRM after it works its magic. So if you need some help with that, once again, guys, you know what to do. Reach out through the live chat, give us a shout. You can use it through Top Producer X. You can use it through 5-Street, and Evan would be able to help you right now, for example. All right, next down in the list here is Market Snapshot. And so, by the way, guys, just before I continue, I guess we're about halfway through the settings. Just want to remind you that if you can't stay for the full show today, or if you ever need to reference back, the recordings are always available automatically after the show is over. So not to worry. But yeah, next up, Market Snapshot. If you have our Market Snapshot program or as part of our Top Producer Professional Bundle, this would allow you to send out custom real estate market reports for helping your buyers find a home, helping your sellers figure out when the best time to make a move in the market would be, keeping in touch with your sphere of influence and staying top of mind, and much more. So it is something that you have to make for someone based on their criteria and their property type and size and bedrooms, bathrooms, all that sort of thing. So you put in a few minutes for this person and it'll keep prospecting for you. It'll keep them up to date. It's a great value add onto the service you're already providing someone. Or like I said, it's a great way just to stay top of mind. It's sort of a really valuable drip campaign of sorts. So very, very versatile, but important to keep in mind that it is an individual marketing tool. It's not a mass marketing tool. Yeah, but Market Snapshot, this is where you go to modify the settings. If you are brand new to Market Snapshot, in most cases, I do recommend just leaving this as is, because the more you start to turn things off here, the more you will limit like what's in the reports. And it's important to note that your recipients can filter a lot of what's in the reports anyway, with just a few clicks usually. So that being said, if you just never want your buyers to see sold properties and have them just focus on only the new for sale and everything, you can turn that off. But they could also switch that off very easily as well. Market Snapshot notifications. You would likely want to keep all of these on because that's what keeps you up to date with what people are liking, what properties they're inquiring, when they're opening a Market Snapshot and things like that, so that you can follow up on that activity. And then listing alerts. This is kind of the second part of Market Snapshot. So it's kind of in the name, Market Snapshot, in that it compares the market to how it was X amount of weeks ago, 1 or 2 weeks or quarterly, monthly, that kind of thing, to how it is in this report. And so then they get like that snapshot of the market. Obviously, the day-to-day activity is just as important, if not more important in some cases. And so that's exactly where listing alerts come in, because you can provide them with day-to-day just listed notifications, price change notifications, and just sold notifications. So by default, this will be in a once a day summary email where they can review, they can click on the properties, they can read the full details just as they would in the full market snapshot report. And you'll be able to see all that listing alert data on your side, which is really, really cool. So maybe you see a trend, you notice someone is looking at the same kind of properties every few days. You might be able to follow up with them to make something happen there or help them find their dream home, give them a little bit of a nudge and help them along as a real estate professional. Real time, sometimes multiple times a day. You can choose this if you'd like, but just be careful because they might potentially be spammed with these, many listing alerts every single day. So your market and your clientele, so we'll leave that up to you. If you do choose real time, you'll want to be a lot more selective with the listing alerts, just to make sure that they only are getting what's really relevant to them every day. If you make any changes, just make sure to save your market snapshot settings. And if you'd like to view a quick sample, just click view sample at the bottom, which will bring up a mock-up report. And you can kind of just get a gist of what it looks like, or even share this with someone if they just want a demonstration. But important to note, it is definitely sort of a fake one. If I click on properties, I'm not going to get any images here and things like that as I would in a real market snapshot. But if someone just needs a quick demonstration, this is not a bad way to go. And yeah, if you want to learn more about Market Snapshot, and if you don't have it yet, just reach out in the chat here on Zoom or YouTube, and Marvin and I would be happy to get you in touch with someone for a full-on demo and everything. All right, guys, up next, MLS credentials. So you can go here to actually connect your MLS board or boards to Top Producer X in order to pull in listing information for use with a couple different features. So if you have Market Snapshot, you will actually need to set this up. It can't be used without it, obviously. If you even just have the base CRM by itself, you can still set this up to take advantage of features like property insights, which is great if you are the buyer's agent quite often. You can document all the properties of interest for your buyers in one neat and tidy place with the MLS connectivity. You can also use it to help you make transaction records and keep your transaction records up to date through that MLS data as well. So if your board is amongst the many boards that are supported, just click on Add MLS Credentials, click into the box here, and then search for yours from the list, or highly recommended that you type it in and try to find it. For example, if I type in, I just typed in but there's my board right there. Maybe CRMLS California Regional right there, right? Vancouver, Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver. And then you would type in your MLS ID number, usually the one that you use to log into the MLS. So if you have letters in your MLS ID and not just numbers, I do recommend trying it capitalized if it doesn't work, lowercase, vice versa, and then try to hit Save Credentials. And if you get a message like that, MLS credentials is not valid, and you're sure you've got your ID number correct, just reach out to our customer care team through the live chat. And sometimes it might need something a little bit different than you're used to in order to get that connected there. And we can figure that out pretty quickly for you. We do have a lot of that information on our side. So if your board is not one of the ones supported, or it's just not in the list, it could be for a couple different reasons. It could be one of the few that we just simply don't have a legal agreement with, and we just need to look into that. And so, or it could be one that is kind of being migrated at the moment to our new MLS connection, which we're actually almost done with anyway. And so Marvin actually does have our MLS compatibility form in the chat here just below me. Or if you're on, it's probably easier for you to just grab it from the chat, actually. But if you click on this, you can then actually fill out a form to request compatibility for your MLS if it's not compatible. But do highly recommend that you reach out to us through live chat first to just confirm that. It might be under a slightly different name than you're used to or something like that. Like it might be the vendor name or something. All right, guys. So next up, very quickly, Task Plans Manager, Template Library. Just want to point out these two in unison because you can use them very closely together, and they both are kind of more advanced features, but a little bit outside the scope of this Getting Started show. But I at least like to point out that they're here and the basics of what they do. And so just to summarize, at least the Task Plans Manager is where you can go to put together your very own task plans for consistency. So whether it's a new lead follow-up plan or a past client after sale plan, or even like a transaction checklist, buyer under contract checklist, that kind of thing. You can make this here. So see, we have contact plans, transaction plans. Some of these that you see here are ones that I've either just import, like they're the default ones, built-in ones. Some of them I've modified, some of them I've created from scratch. And so you can definitely browse the built-in ones if you like. We do have some examples here you can use. It's recommended that you do go in and modify them or even make your own from scratch though, because in that way you can tailor them to be exactly how you want them to be. So you can put a series of different tasks together to stay consistent with your transactions, with your follow-up time and time again. But even beyond this, there is tons of ways that Top Producer X helps you stay in touch with your contacts anyway. And then for any email content, like let's say you want an automated email as part of your task plan, or even just an email template for a situation that comes up every once in a while, or for group email, advertising listings, so on and so forth, you can come here to the template library and put together your very own email templates. Customize them in any way that you want, different font sizes, images, links, and more. And so the possibilities are pretty limitless. So to find out more about that, definitely make sure you join Marvin and I in our earlier Thursday show next week at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. 4 things you'll want to know after you set up TPX. And as you can see in the live chat here, Marvin also has some resources for creating email and texting templates. Texting is only available in the US, please note. And then he also has a link to the article for task plans there as well. So feel free to check that out and learn more, and reach out to the live chat as well. All right, just going to take a quick breath here and a quick coffee. And we're going to just quickly talk about team management. So team management, this is for any brokers or team leaders using Top Producer X. If you have bought or subscribed to multiple licenses for your Top Producer CRM, you can come here to configure the setup for your team. So you have to create a user for each of your agents, for example, if you have multiple agents on your team, and you can do that with your available licenses. So unfortunately, I don't have an extra license to demonstrate this with right now, but I can show you what the edit screen looks like, which is very similar. So here's my second agent account. I can click on the little pencil icon to edit. You can see you can set their name, email address, phone numbers. You can set a username for them. You'll also have to create a password for them. There'll be another box right down here if you're creating a brand new agent. Permissions and rights. You can specify which permissions they should have in Top Producer CRM. So for example, if you turn on access data for your agent, they'll be able to see everyone's contacts across the whole CRM if they need to. And they'll also be able to see all transaction records across the CRM. So if you do not want that, and you want everyone to kind of have just their own separate stuff and not see each other's stuff, you want to keep that off. And if you ever need an agent on your team to be a part of a transaction, you can definitely add them manually and give them permission to see that transaction, even if they do not have this enabled. So that's really cool. Delete or merge data. If you turn this on, this will allow this agent to delete contacts, tasks, notes, or merge duplicate contacts as well. Merging is available in Top Producer 8i Classic. It will be coming to TPX sometime in the future. Export data from Top Producer would allow you to export contact information to a spreadsheet. Also available in Top Producer 8i Classic, and once again, will be available through Top Producer X directly in the future. So yeah, you can configure this any way that you need to structure your team. Make sure they all have their own login, username, and passwords, and then they can do this sort of setup process for each of their accounts as well. So if you need to learn more about team management, Marvin also has that link in the chat there for you. You can also reach out to us for some one-on-one help to discuss your team's needs, and if you need any recommendations on how to set up your accounts and things like that. It's also important to note that you can set up an assistant account. If you need help with that, just reach out to customer care. We can take care of that in the back end for you. And then that way you'll have an assistant account that can log in and play a supporting role to your agent accounts. All right, guys, last but not least is the UI settings. So UI, that stands for user interface. And this is where you can go to customize certain aspects of your CRMs look and feel in terms of like contact type colors. You can change all the colors so that you can stay organized and pinpoint them easier. You can add a new color, search for your contact type that you want to customize. Maybe I want past seller to be, a different color. I can change that. And I can even fully customize it if I want to select from this color slider and dropper here kind of thing. Yeah. You can change the default date ranges for a couple different things, such as the tasks in the contact record, such as transactions and transaction-specific tasks, and then just any general tasks from your overall global task page as well. So if you want to see further back or further ahead in the future without changing the date ranges all the time, you can actually change that all here, or set that all here, I should say. Yeah, so that is kind of a run through of most of the settings. I know it's a lot, so thanks for bearing with me. And so guys, next up, we're going to talk about importing contacts, building your database, and a couple examples before quickly talking about the Followup Coach to finish things off today. So guys, two different ways to bring your contacts into Top Producer. If you have a spreadsheet, you can import contacts. If you have contacts in your email service, such as a Google account, Microsoft account, iCloud account, you can import those using Contact Sync. So one thing to note is that if you want to do a combination of those, I always recommend importing your spreadsheets first before setting up Contact Sync. There's a very specific reason for that, and that's because if you have any crossover between what's in your spreadsheet and what's in your email service, the Contact Sync feature actually has a way to kind of merge those together and avoid duplicated contacts. It's not 100% foolproof, but it will check, for consistency such as name, email address, phone number, and it'll try to merge those together if it detects them as being the same. And so if you import your spreadsheets first, do your bulk imports from the spreadsheet, and then activate the Contact Sync second. That is usually the safest way to go. So just a heads up there. So let's cover importing from a spreadsheet first for that reason. First up here, a couple of prerequisites, guys. You do have to have your spreadsheet saved as a CSV file. That stands for comma separated values. So the very basic cross-platform spreadsheet file that you can create from pretty much any spreadsheet program. And a lot of other programs such as Top Producer and other CRMs actually export to CSV automatically. Sorry guys, just 1 second here. I do have to just quickly take care of something. All right, sorry about that, guys. Just had to tend to something really quick. But anyway, so importing contacts, first step is to have a CSV file. And also you want to make sure that, if possible, you have your contacts' first and last names actually separated. And also any spouse or secondary names separated as well would be ideal. Other than that, ideally you want to have headers across the top of your spreadsheet for everything, because that's going to make it a lot easier too. So let's go ahead and click on Choose File to Import. And I'm just going to take a second here to find the spreadsheet I'm looking for. So here's the dialog box on my computer. I'm going to go ahead and actually click on this one as an example. Double click to open it. So that's going to upload the spreadsheet. And then this is the most important part, guys. Please, under no circumstances, please don't scroll down and skip this step and just click import, because most of the time you will just unfortunately kind of botch the import. So this next step is extremely important because you have to tell it where the contacts should go in your database and how to map up that data from your spreadsheet. So you can imagine people are bringing spreadsheets from all sorts of different platforms, different CRMs, their MLS, maybe something they've even put together by hand, right? It's not always going to be able to detect where to put the data. Even if you add the headers in, it's not always going to be foolproof. So the first step here is selecting the contact status. This is, once again, your sales pipeline stage. You'll just want to think about what would make sense for at least the majority of the contacts. Maybe you're just importing your general database from over the years, your sphere of influence, that kind of thing. you probably want to import into future, and then think about tagging them with something like sphere of influence to save yourself that time. Maybe you're importing a list purely of past clients. You can save yourself the time by selecting the past client type and setting it to closed, so on and so forth. But in this example, let's just stick to the future example and sphere of influence example. You can also say this is from your old CRM if you want, or MLS contacts, or even just the date or something like that if you wanted to. So you can add a contact type to everyone if you want to. It's not mandatory, but you can do that. So then definitely the most vital part is the field mappings, because this tells the top producer CRM where to put all that data from your spreadsheet, and how to map it up correctly. Because like I said, there's just no way for it to know in some cases, right? So on the left side, this shows you the name of the header for the column, and then it shows you up to 4 examples of what's in that header, so you can get a feel for what kind of data you're looking at. On the right side of this green arrow, you have to select where this data should be mapped to in Top Producer. So sometimes it can auto detect it. It doesn't always do it 100% properly. But that being said, it's usually best for you to just review this manually anyway to make sure that everything is mapped as accurately as possible. So in this example, we look at this and say give a name, Adam, Adriana, Angus. Well, obviously this is first name, right? This is someone's first name. So let's go ahead and select the first name mapping. So it's called given name in my spreadsheet, but in Top Producer, just first name. Surname, well, in Top Producer, we want to select last name for that. Street address, we see this has the first part of the street address. We're going to go down and find street/address for this one. City, let's go ahead and hit C on our keyboard, jump down to city really quick. There we go. State full, we're going to map that to state. Zip code to zip. Country full to country, so on and so forth. So email address, telephone number. Email address, this is the primary email address, so I want to map that one there. If I have like a secondary or spouse email or something, I could map that to something like other email. Same thing for phone number. If I only have the one, I think it's pretty safe to say that's probably a mobile phone, so I want to map that to mobile phone. Of course, if you have mobile, home, business, etc., you can map those directly up to home phone, and business phone, and mobile phone. And if you're just not sure, or you have even more phone numbers to map up, you can even use something like other phone. And you can use that one as well as other email as many times as you need to. Occupation, I'm going to map that to job title. Same thing, right? Company to company, just the business they work at or their job. So tag, this could be like a label, or a tag, or in Top Producer, a contact type. So if you have something like this where you have buyer or seller or past client, realtor, vendor, sphere of influence, that sort of thing, you can actually assign that to contact type, and each of these contacts will then be tagged individually. And so if you do have something like that in your spreadsheet, highly recommend you map that up to contact type. And now, knowing that we have this in our spreadsheet, we can probably just go all the way back up to the top and just remove this general sphere of influence tag, because we don't really need it anymore, since we know that our contacts are being tagged individually now, which is much better. And then if you have something like notes in your spreadsheet, you can actually map that to, it's called add to contact notes. So just keep in mind, it starts with an A, add to contact notes. And one thing to note is that this contact type mapping, as well as add to contact notes, can actually be used as many times as you need in order to get the job done. So if you have multiple columns in your spreadsheet that would be a suitable fit for contact type, you can definitely do that. And same for notes. If you have multiple just bits of data or information that you want to throw into the notes section per each contact, you can do that. And also, if you have some data coming in from your spreadsheet that doesn't have an appropriate field mapping in Top Producer, in most cases, it's probably best to at least retain it in the notes section, which is much better than not, bringing it in at all, right? And every step of the way, guys, if you need help, just reach out through that live chat in the bottom right. You could always bounce it off one of our customer care reps, ask them for their advice, which field mappings would be best if you're not sure, so on and so forth. So after reviewing this, take your time with this, though. I highly recommend, because it's definitely important to make sure your database gets off to a good start so that you can start utilizing this right away, right? So just take your time, review this top to bottom, once or twice at least, maybe 3 times. And then once you're comfortable and ready, just hit import contacts. So that's going to bring your contacts in a matter of time. It'll say that it's in progress. It'll say 0 contacts until it's finished. Don't worry too much about that. You can actually see this in progress by clicking the contacts button in the top left corner. And let's just say, for example, that we imported into future. We can then click on the future tab along the top of the pipeline. And then from here, we can review these, right? We probably want to click on some of the names, make sure that the names, phone number, email address, all that kind of stuff looks like it's sitting in the right spots. You don't want to have the phone number in the notes section and the address in the email section, or something like that, and have it all kind of jarbled up. And if you do find out that maybe there was a mistake made, maybe the field mappings could have been chosen better, just let us know. Reach out through our live chat. You can connect with one of our reps. We can help you potentially, redo that import if you need to, or something like that. Yeah, so that's one major way to bring in your contacts. And then also, like I said, we have contact sync. So if you have contacts in an emails account, Google account, Office 365, iCloud, you can also bring those in. Like I said, always recommend you do that second if you are importing some spreadsheets as well. So let's say, for example, you have an Android phone and you have that your contacts automatically connected to your Google account. You could then synchronize your Google account. So that way, everyone that was in your phone is going to your email account and then going to your top producer, and it'll keep it up to date automatically. Or maybe you have an iPhone and every contact is synchronizing to your iCloud automatically. You can then set up your @iCloud.com account. So iCloud in specific does take a few extra steps. I do recommend reaching out to our live chat for help with iCloud setup because it is a little bit more intricate. You do have to use your iCloud.com address. So even if you've never seen that one before, there is a way to make one. You don't have to actually use it, but just simply for connecting to your contacts in your iCloud. But using the example of Google once again, as I did earlier, I'm going to go ahead and fill that in. Click authorize. Click on my Google account. Already has permissions in this case, so I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. So this will take a few seconds and bring us back, and it should say that it's either initializing or running. So once again, the integrations may not always start right away. Might take some time, might take 10 minutes, might take half an hour, might take a few hours. Just give it some time. If this still doesn't switch to running by the next day, you can always reach out to us through the live chat. We can look into that with you. But at this point, your contacts should start synchronizing soon. They'll automatically fall into the future category, and they'll be tagged with something like Gmail, for example, if you synchronize them through Gmail. Yeah, and then so this will pull in all of your contacts from that email service. Some people tend to think this is a little bit overwhelming because they get their friends and family in here, they get other agents in here, vendors, but that in the long run, in my opinion, usually works to your advantage because now you have all those agents in here that you work with. Now you have all those vendors in here that you work with. They're part of your real estate business in one way or another, and they definitely have a home in your Top Producer X. You can link them up to transaction records. You can keep track of your referrals between you and other agents. If you come across someone that you maybe feel like you don't quite want in your database, it's super easy just to move them to the side, recategorize them, or if you really want to, you can delete them, but in most cases, I wouldn't recommend that. So after you have your contacts in there, guys, you want to probably start searching for your most important contacts. Let's say you just closed with Bill a few days ago. You can search Bill up here and then start to recategorize them in your database. Switch him to closed, update his contact types, past client, get him on track in your database, so on and so forth. Maybe check the important dates, make sure you add in his closing anniversary, wedding anniversary if applicable, all that kind of stuff, and make sure that you start updating those records. Your active clients, get them on track, start documenting the transaction processes, track your commission, all of your to-dos to make sure that that transaction goes as smooth as possible for that client, so on and so forth. But then you might be wondering, what can you do for the rest of your database? What if you just imported hundreds or even thousands of contacts? What's the recommended next step? Well, I'd always recommend the Follow Coach. And so that's our last point for today is the Follow-Up Coach. After your initial import, the next day, I should say, the Follow-Up Coach will have 5 contacts waiting for you with recommended follow-up actions or cleanup actions. So let me just re-log in here. It's kind of acting a little bit weird. All right, so when you click on the Follow-Up Coach tab, it's going to give you 5 contacts at a time. So not a huge amount, right? Something to focus on. So we have a couple different examples here. We have, let's see. So actually the one that you might see the most when you first start getting started is something like Tiffany Rivera, future contact, schedule a follow-up to ensure imported contacts don't fall through the cracks. And so what it's really saying is this contact was likely a part of just a bulk spreadsheet import or something, and it doesn't really know where they belong in your database. So maybe we take one look at Tiffany's name and say, hey, you know what? Tiffany was a past client that we just closed with, a month ago or something like that, right? We want to take that moment to update her record. So we can click on it. We can set her to closed. Once again, go down to edit contact at the bottom. Start setting some relevant contact types here. Whatever is applicable to this contact. And then save contact. Once again, make sure that her important dates are set for birthday reminders, anniversary reminders, just more opportunities to reconnect with this past client, to reach out, harvest that potential at repeat business and referrals. Maybe we want to send a little email while we're here. We just kind of got this contact brought to our attention, and we might want to take advantage of this moment to reach out. Maybe like we have like a 2 week after move one, check in 2 weeks after move, or general reconnect. Like maybe I could do this one. Just want to check in and see how you're doing. Let me know if you need anything. Talk soon. Done. Quick little touch on this path client. And then we can go back to the Follow Coach. Mark done. Say that we sent an email. Sent 2 week follow-up email. We can schedule our next follow-up if we need to, or we can just save this wrap-up. And maybe while we're here, we want to take a second to apply a nice little after-sale task plan that we've created, right? So we could do that as well. Let's go to tasks, apply plan, search for the plan. Let's do the past client after-sale follow-up in this case. Maybe we want to set this back to the beginning of the month. Apply plan, catch up on any tasks that we've already done, and then move on to the next person. And so as you can see, it's really easy to go in a direction of productivity using the Follow Coach. So highly recommend it, guys. Try to get in there, put aside half an hour a day, maybe 20 minutes, maybe even 15 minutes if that's all you have to put aside, and try to work through the Follow Coach. Get through your 5 a day at least. Maybe if you're just getting started on your database, you can try to do 10 or 15 a day at least, or something like that. And before you know it, you'll have a lot of your database on track. You'll be maintaining better records. You'll be maintaining relationships. You'll be getting more business opportunities from those contacts that you already have there all along. And it's something that is definitely going to give you that competitive edge over other agents in the area that are not doing something like this. And so highly recommend it. Follow Coach, guys. Do your 5 a day and have that top producer advantage day in and day out. All right, guys. So that's all we have time for today. Before we do fully finish up, though, I just want to point you in the right direction so that you can continue to succeed with your Top Producer X CRM. So we have lots of different resources available, from quick start videos, additional webinars. Of course, you can contact us through the live chat and much more. So here's where you can go to find everything. We have our Top Producer support page, otherwise known as Campus, at topproducer.com/campus. So on the Campus support page, you can browse our video library with all those great quick start videos that Marvin has been linking to. So if you want to find out more about each individual setting and feature, this is where you can go. If you just prefer just pure video content, this is a good choice. You can view the webinar schedule across the top menu bar. So I can either click on it or click on webinar sign up, and you can see all the different shows that we do monthly. Or if you want to see the previous recordings of the two main shows, the getting started and the after setup show, you can see those right here anytime. And it's always going to show you the latest and greatest video recording of that show. You can also browse by product while you're here. So if you want to learn more about, let's say, Top Producer Mobile specifically, you can click on that for those specific articles. You can browse by keyword at the top here. So if you want to learn more about, let's say, drip campaign, you can search for that and bring up an article regarding drip campaigns or whatever else you're searching for. And of course, the live chat is available in the bottom right corner as well, which you can use without even signing in from the Top Producer support page. We also have our blog, topproducer.com/blog, where you can go for day-to-day, tips and tricks, best practices for not only Top Producer X, but just for real estate in general. So really great content here. You can go to our YouTube page if you'd like to see a repository of all the different videos, content we've done over the years, as well as our Facebook user group. If you'd like to join in the Top Producer community, chat with other agents, chat with us, get product updates, tips and tricks, and more. And of course, if you have any questions, need any help, coaching, billing inquiries, all the above, just reach out to our customer care team. You can, once again, reach out through the live chat in the bottom right corner of any Top Producer product or at Top Producer Campus, anytime Monday to Friday from 7:30 a.m. till 4 p.m. in Pacific Standard Time. You can also email our help desk at support@topproducer.com for those less urgent inquiries. But yeah, always recommend you reach out to the live chat first. We can get you hooked up with coaching if you need, like I said, tech support, anything else related to your Top Producer products. We're just a live chat away. All right, guys, so that's all we have time for today. But once again, thank you so much for joining in. Hopefully that gave you some insight on how to get started with your Top Producer X CRM. And, like I said, configure your settings first, get a little bit of understanding of the inner workings of it. And then now you can start to get in there and thrive and work your way through building your database, setting some follow-up reminders, task plans, and much, much more. And so make sure to join Marvin and I for our 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time Thursday show. 4 things you want to know after you set up Top Producer X to really dig in and learn even more, or reach out through live chat for any more specific questions, that kind of thing. And of course, all the resources we have offered on Top Producer Campus, such as the quick start videos, recorded webinars, and frequently asked questions and more. So time to really dig in, guys. Take advantage of your Top Producer X going into May of 2022. And I'm looking forward to this for you guys. I'm excited for you to benefit from Top Producer X and really turn your real estate business into something even bigger and better. So that being said, guys, hope you have a excellent weekend coming up soon. This has been Spencer from Top Producer, joined by Marvin in the live chat. Hopefully we'll see you guys next time. And until then, take care. Thank you very much. And welcome to Top Producer.